The project for today is a freeze break inside this hose bib. So this hose was left hooked up during freezing conditions. And right now the inside of the house is flooding, and there's a crack spraying water all over inside the wall cavity. And as you can see, it's starting to run out from behind the siding. We're in the basement, and the homeowner noticed that this corner of the basement room had wet carpet because it has a drop ceiling. I was like, oh, this is going to be so easy, so easy. Then, I started lining things up and realized that the actual hose spigot is quite a ways that way. You can see that joist on the left side there where those burn marks are. I'm going to be having to cut into the corner of the wall and the ceiling to get on the left side of that floor joist there. So that hose spigot is definitely in this corner here. So my estimation is right here in that exterior wall is where that hose bib comes in to the exterior wall. Right here is a floor joist, and it's like acting as a barrier because none of this is wet. You can easily see this drywall seam. It's not wet, and by sticking my head up in the other room looking down here, I can see that there's no wet drywall. Clearly no wet drywall. So it's staying on that side and probably getting onto the top of the foundation wall, which is right about at this height, and going downhill. I may end up doing all this work from the outside by removing a piece of siding. They do not want to take this tile off. By all means necessary, don't take this tile off. As you can see, the water coming out this screw hole, this siding here is pretty saturated. There we go. I'm determining which section of this board to take off. This is just a 1 by 3/4 inch piece of pine, and it only goes up to here. So this is a joist right here. So I am going to have to cut a hole in this joist here. There it is. It's wet insulation. Whew. Now that's one reason I use this instead of a Sawzall. There's a gas pipe right there. It's a little more time consuming, but much more delicate. You see that right there? That is the crack, the freeze break. The water shutoff is here in the back. Now I don't want to, maybe just for science, I'll turn this on just a hair. See that? Now when there's resistance up against this, like it's plugged into a hose and the spray nozzle is turned off, this here is a jet blast right coming out of there. Okay, so you're probably wondering, what next? What next, Handy? Well, you're just gonna have to wait and see what happens next. Pulled all the wet insulation out. This is gonna have to stay open. So you can see the top of the foundation wall right there. And you can see some other wet wood in there. Wood will dry out, especially in a dry climate. We got a little bit more wetness back there. So this is gonna stay open for like a week or more. And the next phase, let me stick you in there. See down in there? I gotta get to that carpet. All the pads gotta come out. I gotta get fans up in the ceiling cavity so that we have a constant flow of air. Hey, we're back in the basement bathroom. And I wanna go over again why I can't make that connection in the ceiling. Because this wall here is held out from the foundation wall a good bit. And the only way to get to that pipe would be to take out these tiles, take out this backer board, and go behind the joist. There's a joist right here that seals this off from that cavity where the gas pipe is and the water pipe. That's why there's no water damage here. That's why this tape joint is completely dry. As you can see over here, we've got another hole in the wall, and that's usually covered up with a mirror. This is where you have access to your sprinkler shutoff and your main water shutoff. This is where I will shut the water off to the house when I do replace that spigot up there. This is another area where air can circulate. So I'm going to put a fan in the ceiling, in the drop ceiling over there, that is blowing air. It's going to take a little while. I've got a moisture meter. I'll be taking moisture readings mostly of the wood up there. When I pull this out, I'm going to pull all the baseboard out of here. And we got to pull the toilet out of here. I'll be honest with you, I don't want to mess with this toilet today. I just want to get this wet carpet out of here. I am going to be installing tile in this bathroom and that room out there. Well, possibly next week. But for right now, just trying to get this nasty wet carpet out. I do have gloves on. This has got to be one of the nastiest things you'll ever see. Carpet in a basement with a toilet on top of it after you just had a water leak. How many times has this toilet overflowed? Who knows? It's pretty nasty. Oh man. Oh, this is super soak. So they had the hose on for an hour watering plants on the other side of the house. They don't come to the basement often. And the only way they found water was on the other side of this wall, which is on the other side of a bar. So there had to be a ton of water to reach all the way over there. Nasty. Oh, yeah. Let me get you. This is a very basic, cheap vanity. Not sure if they're going to want to keep this or not. I mean, it's functional, looks decent, but it is sitting on top of this carpet and it is made of particle board type material. I'm going to pull this thing off. I mean, there's not even a back to it. It is pretty simple to put this thing in and out. I'm going to use my, oh, guys got wet, my fancy professional grade Knipex pliers to disconnect the supply lines there, and then I'll just pop this thing out. There we go. Yucky. You're probably wondering why that's black. Well, that is the gasket. This is a compression fitting. It uses a rubber gasket right there. And they wear out over time. That's why it's always best to replace your supply lines whenever you take out a toilet or take out a vanity, because that rubber starts to degrade. my guess is there's just toggle bolts, or those little spring-loaded butterfly anchors that are into the drywall. That's a cocking in here. I'm gonna get this out. I gotta take the drywall. Is it getting nasty? I don't know how much I use this bathroom. I'm just gonna throw this up here a little bit. Celery. Yeah, brown. Yeah. Oh, just a little bit wrong for effect. It's not even close to the nasty thing I've ever do. Oh, would you look at that? Oh, there used to be a pedestal sink there. I got a feeling this isn't the first time this basement's flooded. They have this baseboard screwed to the steel studs behind it. Well, there's really no avoiding this. I got to take this whole vanity out. There's a sink up here. Flexible P-trap. You guys love flexible P-traps, don't you? I'm going to eventually be tiling this room too, but I'm going to start in the bathroom and do these as separate rooms because this is a DIY basement finish and all the walls are all cattywampus. In order to get everything dried, I got to get this vanity out and get this carpet cut back. If you can see here, there is a void between the back of the cabinet and the wall. Seems like those holes are big enough to fit the water shutoffs. If they're not, all I got to do is pull that Phillips head screw out and those knobs come off. There's also this weird stub out down here. That looks like it was done for a toilet supply. Now it's extremely common for these water shutoffs to not work, but they don't look that old. I got lucky on the bathroom shutoffs. So what I'll do is I'll turn these off and then turn the faucet on and see if water still comes out. Yep, there's a flexible P-trap in here. I see them all the time. The internet usually goes crazy over it, as in they get an uproar. The weak point on these flexible P-traps are, let me see, right in those joints there, the inside part, if you can see that. Those tend to crack over time and then you can get a leak. But I've seen them last a long time. I don't know how long this one's been here. We can kind of get an idea of what's inside of it by all that nastiness. It's not too bad though, not like a kitchen sink. There's a good chance that the weight of this created a barrier. What did underneath it? Very likely though. There we go. Whew. Water shut off. I think we're in luck. Again, I'm using my Nipex pliers. Make sure that caulk is cut good. Because when you pull this off, you're going to pull the paper off the drywall and it's going to rip right up the wall. Kind of like that, but not that bad. Now this countertop is going back in. This is all good stuff here that they want to reuse. So I got to make sure I don't break anything. Oh. they siliconed this thing in there. So they siliconed this thing to the bottom of this. I'll bring you over and show you. So this flange here, there's usually a rubber gasket between this flange and the bottom of your sink. But they just packed in some sort of silicone. It's the same silicone they tried to glue the top of the other vanity on that sink base. Some nice hair in there. Yummy. Is I don't believe they screwed the face frames together. They just screwed the boxes together. You can see how this is made up of particle board. When this stuff gets wet, it just explodes, meaning it expands and usually is ruined. But we'll see what it looks like when we pull these out. So this cabinet is screwed to the wall here and here. This cabinet, I don't believe, is screwed to the wall at all. And this little one over here is also screwed to the wall. See, this is the toe kick. It's completely wet, a little bit of mold on there. We'll clean this up and it'll be fine. I just saw this. It's wet. I called it down. There's something up in this wall here. It's interesting. I always like taking houses apart, trying to figure out what they were thinking, what they were doing. Obviously this wall looks like a little bit thicker to hold all this plumbing. So all this baseboard is held on with screws. There is steel studs in the walls. What they did is they used these screws. So now I'm going to take all the baseboard off. I'm going to wrap this episode up. I'm going to keep these going as long as I can, editing the night of or the day after, something like that. Right now, I've got this fan in here. This is all open to the hole that goes outside. It's about 10 feet away, but we've got a path of air going this way and out. Now in here, I brought well, this fan is always in my tool trailer, so I've got this set up. This will be set up overnight. And this will dry the floor out pretty good, but we still have a long ways to go. Tomorrow I'm bringing more box fans back. And instead of blowing air that's in this humid basement through and out, I'm going to put the box fan at the hole, blowing hot, dry air from outside the house in. But this is what I got to work with right now. Got to bring extra extension cords, things like that I can leave out all night long. I'm thinking Patreon only live streams the night after one of these videos goes up to discuss your questions. Questions you had about why I did things, what I've run into in the past. Maybe you want to know what's going to happen and you don't want to wait for the videos. You want to ask me a question about my plan of attack. Sometimes that plan changes, like today. I thought I was going in through the ceiling and I went in through the siding. Please give the video a like, share it with anybody who's had a flooded basement or who you think might have a flooded basement in the future. It's going to be long videos. Each one of these episodes is probably going to be 20-25 minutes long. So get your popcorn ready for the next episode. Goodbye.